The envelope had been taped under the drawer, exactly where Imran always kept it. Not in the bank, not in a safe. Just there, under the drawer in his bedroom cabinet, folded thick with cash from double shifts, tips from late-night rides, and those crumpled notes he promised himself he would properly sort when things weren't so tight. Things were always tight. That morning, he pulled the drawer open the way he'd done 100 times. He reached underneath, fingers feeling for the familiar roughness of tape. His hand met bare wood. He frowned. He bent lower, pulled the drawer all the way out. He ran his hand along the underside, then up the inside walls of the cabinet. Nothing. A hot prickle spread up the back of his neck. "No, no, no," he muttered. He set the drawer aside and began checking again, more frantically this time, under the bed, behind the lamp, in the shoebox where he kept old receipts. The envelope was gone. 8 days of cash. The rent money. Gone. He straightened up slowly, breathing hard, the room suddenly feeling too small. His mind began racing, flipping through every memory like channels. Did I move it? No. Did I spend more than I thought? No. Did anyone else know? He closed his eyes and saw only 2 faces. His nephew Adil, who'd moved in 3 months ago after his parents' divorce, and his son, Sami. Sami, 13 years old. Quiet, thoughtful, always scribbling in his notebook. Not a troublemaker, not the kind of boy who made noise. But the kind of boy, Imran thought bitterly, who had started saying, "It's fine," about everything. The kind who swallowed feelings, the kind who could hide things without meaning to. The door to Sami's room was slightly open. Imran stood in the hallway, hand hovering over the frame for a moment. He listened. Soft shuffling, pages turning, a small sigh. He knocked once, then pushed the door open. Sami was sitting cross-legged on the bed, school uniform still on, bag at his side. His hair was messy in the way it always was by late afternoon, dark curls refusing to stay flat. He looked up when Imran entered, eyebrows lifting. "Hey, Dad," he said cautiously. "You're home early." Imran didn't sit. He stayed standing, arms crossed, his shadow falling across the poster on the wall behind Sami. "I have a question," Imran said, keeping his voice as flat as he could manage. "Think very carefully before you answer me." Sami blinked. Okay. Did you go into my room today?" Sami nodded slowly. "Yeah, I put your phone on charge. You left it on the table." Imran's jaw tightened. "Did you open my drawer?" Sami hesitated, just a fraction of a second, but Imran caught it like a siren. I moved it a bit to reach the socket, but I didn't." "The envelope," Imran cut in. "The one under the drawer. Did you take it?" Sami's eyes widened. "What? No!" Imran stared at him, searching his face, his eyes, his posture, every small twitch, every uncertain blink. "Sami," Imran said in a voice low now, "there was a lot of money in there. It's gone. You're telling me you went into my room, moved the drawer, and you didn't see it?" "I didn't know there was any money there," Sami said quickly. His voice had gone thin. "Dad, I swear, I didn't take anything." Imran's heart pounded against his ribs like it wanted to get out. He remembered the last few weeks. Sami coming home later than usual because of group work, avoiding eye contact when Imran asked about school, stuffing something quickly into his bag one evening when Imran walked past. His brain connected the dots in the worst possible way. "Don't lie to me," he said. Sami's face crumpled a little. I'm not lying." "Sami," Imran snapped louder now, "do you have that money?" "No." "Did you give it to someone? Did you spend it?" "No." "Then where is it?" Imran's voice was echoing around the small room. "I don't know," Sami cried. The denial, the fear in his eyes, it should have made Imran pause. Instead, it made his anger flare. "You expect me to believe that? 8 days worth of cash just disappears from under the drawer? The same drawer you moved and you don't know?" Sami's breathing had gone shallow. "Dad, please, I didn't—" "Look at me," Imran said sharply. Sami looked up, eyes glossed with unshed tears. "Tell me again, did you take that money?" "No," he whispered, "I didn't." It felt like a slap. Imran shook his head, almost in disbelief. You think I don't know what lying looks like? You think I'm stupid? He regretted the words the moment they left his mouth, but they hung there, heavy between them. Sami flinched, like he'd been hit physically. I'm not lying, he said, voice breaking now. I promise. Then who did? Imran shot back. Did it grow legs and walk out? Sami's mouth opened, then closed again. His gaze dropped to the bed, and he said nothing. Imran saw that silence and read it one way, guilt. He exhaled harshly. Get up. Sami's head snapped up. What? Get up. Slowly, like his limbs were made of lead, Sami slid off the bed and stood in front of his father. Empty your pockets, Imran said. He did. 2 candy wrappers, a pen cap, a folded piece of paper, a corner of which Imran recognized as his own writing from a long time ago. He didn't ask. Bag, Imran said. Sami opened his school bag with shaking hands, notebooks, a worn-out pencil case, a couple of assignments, crumbs, a library book with a cracked spine. No envelope. No thick wad of money. Nothing. Imran's anger, instead of shrinking, twisted into something else. Frustration, helplessness, the terror of not knowing where the rent money had gone. Where is it? He whispered, more to himself than to Sami. I don't know, Sami said again, tears spilling now. Dad, I swear, I don't know. Imran squeezed his eyes shut for a moment. He thought of the landlord's warning last month. He thought of the electricity bill with the red stamp. He thought of Adil's extra shoes by the door. Adil. The thought slid into his mind like a shadow. Adil, 17, quiet, polite, and suddenly very secretive lately. Late-night calls, hushed WhatsApps, jokes about friends who know where to get things cheap. Imran's chest tightened further. Did someone ask you to take it? He asked suddenly. Sami stiffened. What? No. Are you covering for someone? Imran pressed. Sami's face changed. Just for a moment, a flash of something like panic crossed it, then disappeared under a mask. No, he said too fast. Imran felt his stomach drop. Sami, I'm not covering for anyone, Sami said, shaking his head. I didn't do anything. Imran's voice went quiet and heavy. If I find out you're lying to me, if I find out you're stealing from this house and hiding it, Sami, that will break something between us I can't fix. Tears rolled freely down Sami's cheeks now. I know, he whispered. That's why I'm not lying. But Imran didn't believe him. Not fully. Not yet. He stepped back, breathing like he'd run a marathon. You're grounded, he said finally, the words tasting bitter. No going out after school, no phone after 8, straight home, straight to homework, until I figure this out. Sami's shoulders sank, but he didn't argue. He just nodded slowly, wiping his face with the back of his hand. As Imran left the room, he heard his son's voice, small, hoarse. I'm not lying. But the door was already closing, and the distance between them grew a little wider.
The next few days were stiff and quiet, like living inside a house made of glass, where every word might cause a crack. Sami did as he was told. He came straight home after school. He handed over his phone every night at 8 without being asked. He ate dinner mostly in silence, responding to Imran's questions with one-word answers. How was school? Fine. Homework done. Yeah. Anything you need? He'd shrug. The only thing that hadn't changed was the way he still glanced toward Adil's room sometimes. A small, quick look, like checking whether a storm had moved. Adil noticed it too. One late afternoon, while Sami sat at the table, trying to finish a math worksheet, Adil dropped into the chair opposite him. He was taller, with longer hair that always looked like it had been styled without trying. He wore a faded hoodie and headphones around his neck. You look like you're doing prison time, Adil said lightly, spinning a pen between his fingers. Sami didn't look up. I'm grounded. I heard. Your dad going full detective? Sami's pencil paused. He thinks you took something, Adil continued, watching his cousin's face. From his room. Sami clenched his jaw. He lost some money. And he thinks it was you. Adil asked falsely, but his eyes weren't. Sami finally looked at him. For a second, a dozen different answers fought behind his eyes. Then he shook his head. No. Adil held his gaze for a beat, then looked away, exhaling through his nose. He'll chill. Uncle Imran just freaks out when it comes to money. Sami didn't respond. Adil picked up one of Sami's pencils and started doodling in the margin of the worksheet. Tiny shapes, symbols, broken lines. He stopped doodling. Their eyes met again, and for a second, something raw passed between them. A secret, pressed tight. Right, Adil said quietly. He put the pencil down. You hungry? I'm gonna make tea. Sami shook his head, but his eyes followed Adil as he left the room. Later that evening, Imran drove a late shift to try and replace some of the lost money. The road blurred in front of him. Headlights, red lights, silhouettes crossing at intersections. But his mind stayed back in the apartment. He thought about Sami's face when he'd accused him. He thought about the way his voice shook, but didn't change. He thought about Adil, the way the teenager avoided his gaze a little more lately. He hated this feeling, not knowing his own house. Around midnight, when he finally parked the car and trudged up the stairs, the apartment was quiet. Sami's light was off, so was Adil's. Imran went straight to his own room. The drawer sat in its place, half open. He pulled it fully out, checked underneath again out of habit. Nothing. He was about to push it back when something caught his eye. A tiny strip of tape still stuck under the frame with a thin edge of paper attached. He peeled it off carefully. It was a torn corner of the envelope still clinging to the tape. His name, written in his own messy scrawl, showed just 2 letters. I am. So it had been there. He held the scrap between his fingers, anger flaring again. Someone had pulled it off. He tucked the bit of paper into his wallet and turned to leave. That was when he saw it. On the floor, beside the wardrobe, almost hidden by the shadow of his hanging shirt, lay a small folded receipt. He bent down and picked it up. It was from a tiny electronics shop 3 streets away. Item, prepaid voucher, amount Rs 5,000. Paid in cash. Imran's stomach knotted. He read the date. 3 days ago. The same day he discovered the envelope gone. His pulse thundered in his ears. He stormed out of his room and went straight to the small shelf by the TV where Adil kept his things. There, plugged into the socket, was a brand new, glossy Wi-Fi device, still with a bit of cling film on the edge.
Imran stared at it. Heat rose up his chest. He knocked on Adil's door, once, hard. He didn't wait for an answer before pushing it open. Adil sat on his bed, phone in hand, earphones in. He jerked up when he saw Imran. Hey, uncle? Imran held up the receipt. What is this? Adil's eyes flicked to the paper. His face changed. It's nothing. Just don't lie to me, Imran snapped, his voice sharp as broken glass. You bought a 5,000 rupee voucher. With whose money? Adil opened his mouth, closed it, then swallowed. I needed internet for school stuff. Applications. They were doing a deal. School stuff? Imran's laugh was humorless. Do you think I'm an idiot? You think I don't know what these prepaid things are used for? Adil looked away. His silence was louder than any excuse. Imran stepped closer. Did you go into my room? The teenager's jaw worked. Uncle, listen. Did you take my envelope? Adil's shoulders sagged. I was going to put it back, he said weakly. I just needed it for a while. Just to get some things sorted. You stole from me, Imran said, voice shaking now. You took my rent. His mind flashed with every sacrifice he'd made, every canceled coffee, every late-night shift. Do you have any idea? I was going to replace it, Adil protested. My friend said he had this plan. Imran held up a hand. Stop. His head was pounding. He thought of Sami standing in his room, insisting he hadn't taken anything. The guilt in his eyes, the silence when Imran had asked if he was covering for someone. Did Sami know? He asked quietly. Adil froze. He saw me? Adil murmured after a second. I thought he was asleep. He woke up when I came out of your room. He asked what I was doing. I told him not to say anything. I said I'd fix it before you noticed. Imran's hands curled into fists. And then? Adil's voice shrank. Then you found out, and you thought it was him. I told him to stay out of it. I told him if he said anything, it would just make everything worse. Imran stared at him, heart sinking with every word. He tried to tell me, he whispered more to himself than to Adil. I asked him if he was covering for someone. Adil said quietly, He is. For me. The truth landed like a blow. Imran pictured Sami's tear-streaked face, his repeated, I'm not lying, his silence when asked who else might have taken it. The anger that surged up in him now was different. It wasn't just for the stolen money. It was for the fact that his son had stood alone under the weight of his accusation to protect someone else. Get up, Imran said hoarsely. Adil stood. You're going to tell him, Imran said hoarsely. Tomorrow. Everything. Adil's expression crumpled. Uncle, please. No, Imran said firmly. You don't get to hide behind a 13-year-old. Not in this house. He turned and left before the storm inside him could spill out in words he couldn't take back. He walked down the hall to Sami's room, hand hovering over the handle, heart pounding with something that felt uncomfortably like shame. For the first time, Imran wondered if the thing that was broken between them wasn't Sami. It was him.
The next morning, the apartment felt different. Not quieter, not louder, just heavier. Sami sat at the table, half-heartedly pushing cereal around the bowl. His eyes were puffy, like he hadn't slept much. Adil hovered nearby, leaning against the counter, fingers drumming a restless beat. Imran stood by the sink, mug of tea untouched in his hand, watching them both. He'd stayed awake most of the night, replaying every word he'd said to Sami, every time he'd insisted the boy was lying, every warning about breaking something between us. He had been so sure of his interpretation, so sure of his ability to read his own son, so sure he was right. Now, that certainty tasted like ashes. Sit down, Imran said finally, his voice low. Adil straightened and moved to a chair. Sami glanced up, wary. What's going on? Sami asked. Imran didn't answer immediately. He pulled out a chair opposite Sami and sank into it. For a moment, he just looked at his son. Really looked at him. The curve of his shoulders, the way he held his spoon like a shield, the lines under his eyes. He'd missed so much. Adil has something to tell you, Imran said. Adil swallowed. He looked at Sami,
then at his own hands. "I'm sorry," he blurted out. "For what?" Sami asked. For letting you take the blame. I took the money from Uncle Imran's room, not you." Sami went very still. "What?" he whispered. Imran watched the shock ripple across his son's face. "I thought I could pay it back before he noticed. I needed it for a thing, and I didn't know who else to ask, and I panicked, and you let me stand there and get yelled at?" Sami's voice was small and sharp and hurt. He flinched like the words had hit him. "I told you not to say anything. I told you I'd fix it. Uncle was already mad. I thought—" "You thought what?" Sami's eyes were wet now. "That it was okay if you thought I was a thief?" "No," Adil said quickly. "I didn't. I was scared, okay? I knew he'd kick me out, and Mom has enough going on, and I didn't want—" "So you let him think I was lying," Sami said slowly, as if tasting the truth for the first time. Adil couldn't meet his eyes. Imran felt every word like a weight on his chest. He wanted to jump in, to fix, to smooth things over, but he forced himself to stay quiet. He owed his son that much. Sami turned to Imran. You believe me now?" Imran's throat closed for a moment. "Yes," he said hoarsely. "I believe you. I should have believed you from the start." Sami swallowed, tears spilling over. "Then why didn't you?" The question was so simple it hurt. Imran set the mug down and leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. "Because I was scared," he said, surprising even himself with the honesty. "Money disappears, and all I can think is, we're going to lose the apartment, we're going to get kicked out, I've failed you. I saw that envelope gone, and my brain, it didn't stop to ask, it just attacked the nearest explanation." "Me." "Yes," Imran said quietly. "You." "That's the thing I missed, Sami. Not the envelope, not the receipt, not some clue on the floor. I missed you." Sami blinked, confused. "I missed the way your eyes looked when you said, 'I didn't do it.' I missed the fact that you've never stolen a thing in your life. I missed that you were more scared of me thinking you were lying than of anything else." Sami's lip trembled. I was. Imran's voice cracked. "I know. And I'm sorry." Adil cleared his croaking throat. "Uncle, I'll fix the money. I'll get a job after school. I'll sell the—" Imran held up a hand, not looking at him. "We'll discuss that later. Right now isn't about money." He turned back to Sami fully. "I accused you of lying. I told you if you weren't telling the truth, it would break something between us. But I didn't stop to think what it would do to you if I refused to listen." He looked down at his hands. "That's on me, not you." Sami's bringing hitched. "I was protecting him," he said suddenly, voice small. "Adil, I thought if I said it was him, you'd kick him out. He told me not to say anything, but I didn't just keep quiet because he asked. I kept quiet because I was scared of what you'd do." The words sliced cleanly, but Imran didn't flinch away from them this time. "You were not just protecting him," Imran said quietly. "You were protecting this house from more shouting, more anger." Sami's shoulders shook. "Sometimes it feels like if I stay quiet, everything stays together." Imran felt that like a punch. The one thing he always told himself was that he was doing his best to hold the family together, work late, save money, keep rules, all for Sami. And here was his son believing the only way to keep that same family from falling apart was to disappear into silence. Imran reached across the table and gently, carefully, took Sami's hand. "That's not your job," he said. "You're 13. Your job is to be a kid, to mess up sometimes, to tell me when things are wrong, not to hold the house together in your throat." Sami stared at their joined hands, tears still clinging to his lashes. "I was." Imran's voice cracked. "I know. And I'm sorry." Adil cleared his throat awkwardly. "Uncle, I'll fix the money. I'll talk to the shop. Maybe they can cancel a voucher or something." Imran looked at him. "You and I will sort out consequences. You will make this right, but you will not do it by hiding behind Sami again. Understood?" Adil nodded quickly. "Understood." Sami let out a shaky breath. "Am I still grounded?" he asked after a while. Imran almost said yes automatically. Then he stopped himself. "Not for something you didn't do," he said softly. "We'll figure out a different way to handle things when I'm worried. One that doesn't punish you for my fear." For the first time in days, something like relief flickered across Sami's face. It wasn't a smile. Not yet. But it was something. Imran held on to it like a thread.
Trust doesn't snap back into place overnight. It doesn't reset with one apology or one confession. It has to be rebuilt, like a cracked wall, brick by brick, with patience and care. For the first few days after the truth came out, Sami was still cautious around his father. He answered questions, but carefully. He laughed sometimes, but it died quickly, like he was afraid of being too loud. Imran noticed every flinch, every hesitation, every way his son's body seemed to stay half-braced, like he was always waiting for impact. It hurt, and it was useful, because it reminded Imran over and over again that the work wasn't done. Adil, for his part, found a part-time job at a small grocery store after school. Every evening, he came home with tired eyes and a little envelope with his name on it. He handed most of it to Imran without being asked. "It'll take a while," he said, cheeks red, "but I'll pay back everything I took." Imran didn't praise him for doing what he should have done in the first place, but he did acknowledge it. A nod here, a softened tone there. Adil stayed, but the rules changed. No more secrets, no more late-night schemes. He had nearly turned Sami into collateral damage. They all knew it. One evening, about a week later, Imran came home earlier than usual. The sun was still up, painting the buildings with a tired orange. From the hallway, he could hear a soft murmur. He paused outside Sami's door. Inside, he heard his son's voice, low, a little hoarse. "I didn't know what to do," Sami was saying. "I wanted to tell him, but I also didn't want to make things worse." Adil's voice answered. "You shouldn't have had to choose," he said. "That's on me, and on him, not you." Imran swallowed. He knocked lightly and pushed the door open. Both boys looked up. Adil was sitting on the floor, leaning against the bed. Sami sat cross-legged on the mattress, notebook open in his lap. "Hey," Imran said. "Hey, Dad," Sami replied, guarded but polite. "Can I come in?" Imran asked. It was a small question, but it mattered. For days, he had been reminding himself not to just enter spaces and demand answers. Consent mattered in small domestic ways, too. Sami nodded. "Yeah." Imran stepped in and, instead of standing over them, sat down on the floor too, back against the wall. He took a breath. "I heard some of that," he said gently. "You're right, Sami.
You shouldn't have had to pick between telling the truth and keeping the peace. Sami looked down. I just didn't want you to hate him. I don't hate him, Imran said, glancing at Adil. I'm angry at what he did. I'm disappointed, but I don't hate him. And I hate the fact that you thought I might hate you if you told me the truth. Sami's throat bobbed. Imran leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Can I tell you something? Sami nodded slowly. When I was your age, my father accused me of stealing from the shop he worked at. I hadn't. A cousin had. I kept quiet for 3 days. 3 days of being called liar and thief and useless. He smiled sadly. On the 4th day, my cousin confessed. My father never apologized. Not really. He just stopped mentioning it. And I told myself I'd never be like that if I had a kid. He let out a hollow little laugh. And then the moment money went missing in my house, I did the same thing to you. Sami stared at him, surprised. You never told me that. I never told anyone. Pretended it was nothing. But the truth is, it changed the way I looked at my father. Something cracked. We still talked. We still lived in the same house. But that crack never really healed. I swallowed. I don't want that for us. Sami's eyes shone. Then what do? We fix it, he said simply. Slowly, honestly. When I mess up, and I will, I say so. When you mess up, and you will, you say so. We listen. We don't jump straight to liar or thief just because we're scared. And nobody here protects someone by staying silent and taking all the blame alone. If you're protecting someone, you tell me who and why. We fix it together. Deal? Adil nodded immediately. Deal. Sami hesitated, then nodded too. Deal. Imran reached out his hand, palm up. Shake on it? Sami smiled, a small, real smile this time, and placed his hand in his father's. Adil piled his hand on top. For a moment, the 3 of them sat there, hands stacked, light from the window softly fading. Later that week, Imran changed where he kept his money, not because he didn't trust them, but because he realized some temptations were too big to put in a teenager's path. He opened a basic bank account, stood in line, filled out forms he'd been avoiding. As he walked home with the card in his pocket, he thought of Sami, of the way his son had protected Adil, of the way he had shrunk under accusations that weren't his to carry. He realized something else too. Sami's instinct to protect was not the problem. It was where that instinct had been forced to go. That night, Imran found Sami on the balcony, looking out at the city lights. Still grounded? Sami asked, a hint of humor in his voice. I chuckled. How about we downgrade it to supervised freedom? Sami cracked a proper grin. What does that even mean? It means, Imran said, leaning on the railing beside him, you can go to the library tomorrow. With me. We'll both pick something to read. Sami's eyebrows lifted. You? Read? Hey, I can try, you know. They stood in comfortable silence for a while, watching traffic crawl below them. Dad? Sami said quietly. Yeah? When you asked me if I was covering for someone, he hesitated. I really, really wanted to tell you, but your face looked so angry. Like if I said one wrong word, you'd explode. Imran winced. I know. I'm working on that face. Sami laughed softly. Good. Imran looked at him. Next time you're protecting someone, I want you to protect them with me, not from me. All right? Sami nodded. All right. Imran reached out his hand on the back of his son's neck for a second, a small, steadying gesture, then let it fall. Down the hall, Adil's door was open. He was on his bed, books spread around him, a calculator in hand. He glanced up, saw them there together, and smiled just a little. The envelope hadn't come back. The money was still gone. But something more important had started to return. In a small, noisy apartment above a row of shops, a father who had always thought his job was to work and protect was learning something new. Sometimes, protection looks like listening. Sometimes, strength looks like saying, "I was wrong." And sometimes, the bravest thing a child does is lie. Not to escape punishment, but to hold up someone else. Imran couldn't change the moment he'd accused his son, but he could decide from that day forward to never again miss the most important thing in the room. The look in his child's eyes when he says, "I'm not lying." And this time, he believed him.